Welcome to the Bits Matter podcast. I'm your host, Doug Ridley, and today we're continuing Season 2, A Strategic Approach to Branch Design, with Episode 3, Hidden Costs. In this episode, I'm joined by William Foley, co-founder of the Element Group and an expert in design build projects for banks and credit unions. Today, we talk about hidden costs in branch projects, why early planning matters, and how a turnkey approach can save both time and money in the long run. Now let's get started. So, William, let's talk a little bit about hidden costs now. What costs differ from using an industry design firm versus a local architect?
Well, an industry design firm, slightly higher costs up front. There could be slightly higher costs up front, but they're more efficient in when designing the space. They understand banking, they understand backroom operations, they understand how to use technology within the branch, they understand digital and where the digital experience can be. They train the staff. Once the building is completed, they'll train the staff. And also any account acquisition programs that we want to run through the digital marketing. So we're taking into all those considerations, and it's going to save time and money in the long run if you go with an expert compared to a local.
They'd bring that turnkey approach, like we like to say.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to...
Yeah, because, the turnkey is everyone's under one roof. You have strategic planners, you have designers, architects, people that understand construction, understand technology, understand digital marketing. So everything's under one roof, and you can go to that one firm to help you along the way.
And I can see that being from both a timeline perspective of I don't have to pass off what, the architect's vision is to the marketing, digital marketing team or the digital screen team. But then also it must be from just making sure that everything just aligns long term as well, that we're thinking not just about, oh, this is going to look great during the grand opening, but this is how this is going to function 5-10 years down the road.
And we're talking about that early on in the process, and all those players are in the room together. So when we're even in the critique phase or the schematic phase, we have digital marketing in the room, we have graphic design in the room, interior designer in the room, the architect, the structural, general contractor, and the project manager. So everyone's on the same page. And we're looking at, just like when we talked about the visual when you go into the parking lot, we're looking at all those aspects early on in the project. Where does the digital screen go? Where does the brand wall go? How does this branch function?
And when talking, especially with the signage teams, I think there's so much intention around that and how people are going to use it as well. So even talking with clients that they use the screens in their vestibules different than the screens in the lobby versus the screen behind the teller.
Correct.
And I think a lot of times in the past, the idea was, oh, digital signage is going to be this thing that we need to include, but people were just putting it.
It was an
anywhere.
afterthought.
Yeah.
It was an afterthought. We have a lot of clients that'll send us a floor plan and say, oh, can you put digital marketing in on this floor plan? And we want to think about it early on. Mm-hmm. The digital marketing should be first in the conversation and the graphics and the branding.
When we talk about costs, I think the thing that comes up the most is just square footage, and how are we helping clients, or how are clients even saving on square footage nowadays?
Well, the biggest thing is technology, using ITMs, using teller pods, smaller offices, using visual, natural light, glass, just being more efficient with the design.
When you talk about some of these visual aspects of glass being more open concept, those sort of things, like where are there specific areas where like that's just an obvious for us, is that you don't need offices can be smaller a little bit.
Offices used to be 10 by 12 and now they're 9 by 8, but they still appear to be larger because we're using natural glass in the front. We're putting a little natural glass on the side so it appears larger. And, we fully understand privacy. So we're using better glass, so there's privacy within the offices, so the members or the customers can feel comfortable talking about their business needs when sitting down with the banker.
We don't talk about it a lot, but one thing we do is noise
White
management.
noise, we
White
could
noise.
use white noise within the facility because they are smaller. You're going to hear things. So you use white noise or use acoustic ceilings and things like that.
When we talk about layouts, we talk a lot about too, like the choreography of it. There's just how when someone comes into the branch, where do they go if they want to open an account or just want to do a basic transaction, daily transaction, those sort of things. Like the choreography is big, and I must be helpful there to understand here's how we can take that choreography and make it much more intentional by also making the space smaller.
And that's why we do training. So we help train the staff to understand when a member or customer comes in the door, what is their next move? Do they want to go to the transaction area? Do they want to open an account? So we're helping them understand how to work the space.
It seems like with so many of the trainings that we do, it's gone are the days of people just teller standing behind a teller line or desk and just saying, hey, come here.
Well, everyone on the floor has to be involved in the member experience. And that's the biggest key. If you don't have buy-in by the staff, the branch isn't going to be successful. So that's where we go back to early planning, like with the CEO and the branch manager and the head of retail. They need to buy in to the process up front. And then once the building's completed, that staff is going to continue to have that buy-in. And then check-ins. So we'll do an initial training. We'll check in at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months to make sure that branch is still working the way it should.
Do some secret shopping,
Exactly.
drop in.
Yeah, exactly.
And we talk about hidden costs. Gosh, you spend millions of dollars doing this project, man hours, etc., and then you don't put that time in to say, how is it going to be successful down the road?
That's the most frustrating thing to me is when I go back to a branch and it's not being used the way it should be used. And that's because you don't have buy-in early on. And that's the key part to being successful.
So as we wrap, I have one more question. What pitfalls do you see when we're working in that initial planning phase during the design strategy discussions?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the institution not committing to the project and not putting an internal team with authority to make decisions as we go through the process.
So are you saying we need to approve furniture, and then instead of having one person have that authority, they got to go back to a group of people?
And we'll come up with a project journey and a project plan. And we always look at, okay, we need to make sure our vendors are in line, our contractors, our architects, our consultants. Our biggest key is to make sure our client understands what they need to do throughout the project. When do I need to approve furniture? When do I need to approve graphics? When do I need to approve the merchandising, the general construction costs? So all those key approvals, we talk to our clients early on about that and then help them along that journey. And who is the key decision maker?
And I guess in that plan too, is that decision maker just out on vacation that week that
Exactly.
we need to order XYZ?
We don't want to do that to the client and say, okay, tomorrow you have to approve the furniture deck so we stay on schedule. We give them 2-3 weeks in advance. We talk about it at the meetings, and everyone's up front that they know when things need to be approved.
And I've seen teams actually come to the Element office and do some of those approvals, get on the same page, so that way everyone sort of knows the beginning of a project, or even as we're doing design and picking furniture and flooring, etc., that hey, this is the direction we want to go. I have to think that cuts down on
it's
timeline.
Huge. It's the most exciting time for our company is to have people in our space. We'll do some concept designs and the critique. We'll get client buy-in. And then once we get into schematic design and design development, we'll bring a team from their institution here to the office. They meet the interior designer, the graphic designer, the architect, the owners of the company. We all get in a room and we talk about the design, and we'll make approvals 2-3 week savings of getting everyone here and team building and getting everyone that connection we talked about and getting everyone on the same page, they go back to their job. We complete our design process. But we save 2 or 3 weeks doing this.
And it's always a fun time too.
Oh, it's a blast. It's a blast. We have a lot of fun, but then we work hard. And it's funny because, in the morning we'll be going over designs and we'll be, strategically talking about what has to happen. We'll maybe go out to dinner or something like that. A team will stay back and implement those designs into the plan. The next day, the client comes back and we're reviewing updated floor plans and designs. And you can't do that on Zoom or Teams, things like that. Having those folks committed in this space is very helpful.
I feel like our team gets excited about that, especially the design team, when they can get that feedback in person and then show people the next day exactly what they were thinking.
It's a blast. It's the most rewarding part of the job, and everyone in the office just gets really excited, to your point, when clients come to the office.
Well, William, thank you for joining us. Any parting thoughts to institutions as they start their 2026 budget planning season?
Well, I think the biggest thing is work with someone that has the expertise in the design build world, if that's what you're looking at. Have a realistic budget, a realistic timeline, and it will be successful.
And that's a wrap on this week's episode. A big thanks to William Foley for joining us and sharing ways you can save during your next branch project. If you're preparing for budget season and unsure where to begin, keep in mind that costs go far beyond brick and mortar. Decisions made early, from who designs the space to how technology and staff training are integrated, can determine whether the project saves money long-term or creates hidden expenses down the road. A big thank you to our producer, Bryn Baldessaro, with music by the George Brown Band. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll dive into ways you can save on your next branch project. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Sing a song of celebration and hope, my friend, that we're gonna find a chance to love just one more day. That we're gonna find a chance.